Probably be a good idea to start recording, huh?
Right.
Anyway, you're kind of far away. I was about to say, you gotta get a little close.
Here we go.
And we are back.
We're back again.
That's your saying.
And we're back.
We are. And as you can see, we have a new setup. And that is because we moved.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why you haven't seen us post in like 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Moving.
3 when this comes out.
Uh-huh.
We were moving.
And we had some issues.
We had a lot of issues.
Like water leak issues. But it's okay.
They had to bulldoze our entire kitchen apart. Maybe not the entire thing, but most of it. A good 75% of it.
Ripped up the floor.
Took the cabinets out.
To find this. The leak was on like the 3rd floor and the 1st floor. They took my goodness. The leak was on the 3rd floor and it trickled all the way down to our apartment.
Mm-hmm. Like we didn't have a kitchen for like a whole week.
For a whole 5 days, a work week.
A whole 5 days. And all you hear is boom, boom, boom.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. It was crazy. I feel like I'm about to sneeze. Allergy season is upon us.
It is.
As he can attest to that because his allergies are
atrocious.
Terrible.
They're not very sensational. So.
They're very bad. So this will be our new podcast room. You guys will see us in here all the time, 9 times out of 10, and then we're gonna get a nice little new space. Anyway, so today we thought that it would be a good idea to do kind of like a men versus women perspective in this podcast video, specifically regarding to dating. So I feel like dating is a very popular topic, but especially when it comes to dating in like the Christian community, I feel like it can. I'm sorry, we didn't introduce ourselves. I am Amara B.
I'm Logan.
You sound so dry.
Logan.
I'm Logan. You sound like Wolverine.
Listen.
I'm Batman. You sound like that kid. Anyway, so get back on track. So basically, we're going to be discussing the timeline of dating when it comes to being a Christian, a man versus a woman's perspective, how we feel dating is being a Christian, and then how we feel like dating results into or navigates into like cultural standards, in society. So without further ado, we're gonna dive right into this topic. So, Logan, what are your expectations and experiences when it comes to being a Christian in dating?
Well, I think the obvious thing is like I prefer to date someone who's Christian as well.
Yeah.
Because I believe that it just makes it easier. With beliefs and stuff. That way you don't gotta there's a clash in beliefs. Some people might think you'll try to convert them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you already.
Or they try to convert you
into something else. You they won't be afraid that you're gonna talk about God all the time, or that they'll try to be see these crystals I gotta find below.
Or it even leads to a bunch of disagreements, because in the past when I was dating, I've dated people who were of the Muslim culture, really Muslim and
Jewish.
I almost dated somebody who was atheist, but I couldn't go down there. I couldn't go that route. No offense to anybody, but I'm just saying. Anyway, but yeah, so I dated somebody who was Muslim and he was trying to convert me. And then on top of that, we had a lot of disagreements when it came to Christian standards and Muslim standards. Yeah. And I'm just like, we're never going to see eye to eye because we don't believe in the same things. But he would always want to argue me down about every little thing. So I definitely can resonate with that. But anyway, so let's talk about what is Christian dating for you?
I would say it's really hard. Because, there's a lot of people who say they're Christian, but they're not.
Yeah.
Or they're very lukewarm and stuff.
Yeah.
Where, there's people who be like, yeah, I'm Christian. And then they be out here doing all kinds of wild stuff. You know, People get cheated on. People, you know. And I also, me personally, prefer to date someone without kids. Because, you know, kids are already difficult. And then you're going to be in charge of somebody else's kids. You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, and I could imagine being like a step parent trying to discipline the kid and it's not yours. You'll get the, you're not my dad. Like, you know, you're not my dad.
Yeah, I agree. I think Christian dating, for me, when I took it more seriously, I should say, same things applied. It was very hard to navigate through today's society. A lot of people would tell me like my standards were too high or I was asking for too much or whatever the case may be. And I would just be like, I ain't never gonna find nobody. Like literally with today's standards and everything like that. But you wanna Yeah,
okay. So when it comes to dating, like as a Christian, biblically, like what is biblically dating to you? Like what do you think? How do you think God wants you to date in this?
I feel like kind of like what Pastor Stephen used to say, or what he says in his sermons, where he's like, basically you have a dating timeline, right? Obviously God should be in the center of everything that you do, especially when you're dating, because especially if you're a Christian and you want, you know, God to be the foundation of your relationship, it's very important to make sure you guys' morals and everything align.
Right.
So in that dating stage, I feel like making sure, you know, you're getting those hard questions out the way, but not to the point where you're driving the person away, kind of how Pastor Stephen said, like, you like, do you go to church every week? You know,
like an interrogation.
Yeah, it's like an interrogation, right? It should be questions that, you know, what devotionals do you read? You know, or what passages in the Bible have you found, you know, to touch you or something like that? Or like, you know, like generalized conversation.
Yeah. Do you believe in waiting till marriage or
stuff like exactly?
Do you want children?
Do you want children? Exactly, things that will ultimately become bigger things in the future if you don't discuss them now. You know, so I definitely feel like the timeline of how Pastor Stephen laid it out is how my timeline is, but a little tweaked. Like he mentioned, you know, when you're dating, you should have like what did he say? Like when you first meet stage, it should be like, you know, a couple weeks, and then it should be like, okay, I'm feeling this person. The stuff that we have aligns for the most part. Now let's kick it up to dating, you know, and dating is going to dive into those deeper questions. And maybe you can even see different things that they're doing. Like for us, you know, I asked you, I was like, hey, you want to go to church with me? You know, you came to church with me almost every single Sunday, you know, and it was like little things like that, you know. And then after that, what did he say? Like he said 6 months to... Did he say 6 months?
I don't remember the actual time frame, but I think at the end of the day, he said you should know if you want to marry them by 2 years.
Right, by 2 years. And I feel like there are a lot of people who are in the engagement or fiance stage or even girlfriend stage for 10 plus years, 5 plus years, and they're sitting here waiting for a ring and stuff. And it's like, if the person can't figure out that they want to be with you forever, at that point, there's something clearly holding them back from pursuing, you know. And then at that point, why are we wasting each other's time, you know? So, but from a biblical standpoint, I definitely think that God should be in the center of everything that you're doing. And if that is not the dynamic for your relationship with that person that you're talking to, then that probably is a clear like red flag sign, like, okay, maybe I should not be with this person, you know? So yeah. What about you? Do you have some scriptures for us?
Yeah, okay, hold on. Because I couldn't remember them all. So basically it's like, obviously if you're dating as a Christian, I feel like as a Christian you probably shouldn't be dating casually, as people nowadays say. Because then it's kind of like, dating casually kind of implies that you're just gonna not take anyone really that seriously.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, if you are...
What do you mean by dating casually? Can you break that down for us?
You know, people will just be like, I just want to date you for a season. Like I'm gonna cuff you for the summer.
Oh, I know exactly. I've actually encountered that.
Yeah, I'm gonna date you just for the winter time.
Or you ask a person like, "Where do you see us?" and they're kind of like, "Well, I don't see marriage."
Or like, I see you leaving me in about 3 months.
Right. Or like, I don't see marriage with us, and it's just like, well, what are we doing then?
Yeah.
You know.
So I do think the end goal should be marriage if you're gonna do that.
Right.
So obviously, there's scriptures on that. So Genesis 2:24, that is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. So it's more, I think people see in America, usually in this country at least, marriage is, you know, obviously people think marriage, you should marry someone you love, but I also think that American culture in the USA is a business pact. Like, people get married. How many, like politicians, how many people get married? How many of those marriages do you think are just because they love each other, or is this for politics? Or how many times, when people get married, it's a business transaction in this country? Because taxes. It's cheaper to get married, tax-wise.
Yeah. Or they just need a green card. So, I'm
that too. There's that. There's people who do that. There's people who marry just because the other one has money. Stuff like that. So I think, at the end of the day, you should have God at the center of your marriage, and you should be, because you genuinely love that person. You want to spend the rest of your life with them. And, Genesis 2 that is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. Because at the end of the day, marriage is something that is between a man and a woman that God brought together, that no man should separate.
Absolutely. So, what are some core values that you think Christians should have while dating, specifically for men?
I think as a man, you need to ask God for discernment to find proper women to date and to marry, because I think a common theme nowadays is a lot of men date bodies and a lot of women date pockets. So I think, because men naturally were visual creatures. Yeah. You see something you like, you go after it. Right. It's just how we're hardwired. So I think as a man, you can't get caught up in that trap all the time, because sometimes just because she look good, don't mean she good for you.
Yeah, what's that saying? They say it was like, it's like something about a diamond and a house and a rock in a house.
I have no idea.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
Nope. But I think as a man, you gotta have that discernment to understand that. And then you also, not to say that there's not attractive women out there who are, Christian, godly women because of you. But so as a man, you gotta have that discernment, and you gotta have self-control, because society praises men on, it's almost like society is like, if you're a man and you can pull a lot of women, that makes you more manly. Like, that defines you. Or you're defined based on how many women you can pull and what you can provide. Which, as a man, you are more than that. You're more than what you can provide. Obviously, you should be a provider, but at the end of the day, you're more than just a walking bank. You're not a bank account. You're not like you're not there just, pulling a lot of women doesn't define your masculinity. Because there's women out there who will call you gay because you turn them down.
No, seriously.
Which is wild, just because he don't want you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, that always blew my mind. But
so I can't find the exact same thing, but it's basically like, don't lose your diamond while searching for a rock. So in other words, you may have your significant other in your life, and they may give you 80% of everything that you want, but there's a little 20% that they don't have. Maybe they don't look the best at that point in time. Maybe something that's going on that's not necessarily what you want to happen, right? And you find a girl that has 20%, the other 20% that you was looking for in your girl, but doesn't have the 80, but that 20% looks good to you, so you're like, I'm gonna go after this rock because that's what I've been looking for. And then you end up going for that person, and it's terrible, right? And basically that's the saying, don't lose your diamond over a rock.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that too, because you can't, nobody's perfect.
Yeah,
not everyone's gonna have everything you want, and that's just because we're human. Like, nobody's perfect.
Yeah. So, all of those things. So, okay, so let's talk about the dating timeline for men versus women.
What is your dating timeline? Let's talk about that.
Okay. So, as a female, I feel like most women have the same dating timeline. I think women are such in a rush to get married. Now, hear me out before y'all judge me, okay? So, I feel like women get into this space in their minds where they're like, all right, for instance, I'm going to use myself. So, I'm 27, about to be 28, literally in 2 weeks. And I'm looking at my life like, I ain't got no kids, I ain't married. I mean, I just got into a career job that I've been in for a year now. So it's like, it feels like my life is just starting, but in the time frame of how I'm looking at my age, it's like I should be somewhere else. Especially when you look at society and you see there are people who are literally... Sky Jackson. I was watching that little girl, and I was older than her, watching her on Disney Channel. How she got a kid already? You know what I mean? So it's like you look at stuff like that, or the little girls from Dance Moms. Some of them are married. Some of them got kids. And it's just like, you guys are all younger than me. What am I doing that is wrong? You know what I mean? So you start looking at your life and kind of overanalyzing, like, am I doing things in the right way? You know, and at the end of the day, I think the most important thing to remember is everybody's timeline is different. But it is hard to kind of navigate through life when you see things like that. Like, some of your friends may be, further than where you are. Some of your friends may be like, some of my friends are married. Some of my friends have kids. Some of my friends are successful and doing crazy things and going on vacations and stuff. And then you look at your life. Like, it's really easy to fall in a envious comparison. Yeah, exactly. Standpoint where you're comparing every single thing to the people around you. But to get back on topic, the timeline that I see as a woman, I feel like it's, your typical find your person, get married, have kids. I mean, yes, a career will come along in the middle of all of that, but I feel like it should be boom, 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 and it just don't happen like that, and when it doesn't happen like that, it makes you think, like, what am I doing wrong? And I feel like men are more so of like creatures where they're like strategic about everything that they do, so they're thinking about, okay, what are my finances before I do this, before I make this decision? What am I living in? Am I in the house that I dreamed of? Am I in the career that I dreamed of? Like, they're more strategically thinking, and we're looking like, when are you going to propose? When are you going to marry me? When are we going to start a family? Because we kind of, again, we want boom, boom, boom. But I feel like it's important to see where your partner and you both align, and kind of just mixing those feelings that you guys have together, or those morals that you guys have of your timeline, to make sure that you guys, it's equal, you know what I mean? Or it's a compromise,
Right.
What is your timeline?
I would say, like you said, women, you feel like someone are in a rush to get married. I feel like it's the opposite from men. I think men kind of, like, at least in today's age, is like in absolutely no rush to get married, even if they want to get married at all. Versus, like, if you read the Bible, these dudes were like,
next day, 3 days later,
like, you run into some girl at the market today, 4 o'clock before the sun goes down, chop chop, and I think part of that is the way this country's ran, and how men get treated in courts. Because I think in the divorce rates are high. I think it's like half of all the people get married right now.
But that's what I'm talking about. Y'all think very strategically about all of those things. Like, what if we rush into this and we get a divorce, you know? Mm-hmm. But it's like, why are you jumping ahead thinking of bad things that haven't even happened yet? You know what I mean? Or may not ever even happen, you know?
I think it's just because you just look outside. Or how many people, what people I've ran into, they got like ex-wives and like third marriages and stuff, or like there's guys out. You look on social media, there's guys out here living with their parents. Yeah. Because if you do get a divorce, what happens to the woman? The woman, look, here's the hypothetical. I heard this from Bill Burr once. He's a comedian, so he was like, basically, you're a man, you work, got a nice house, whatever. You come home, your wife is cheating on you with the neighbor. Not only does she cheat on you, you want to get a divorce. She cheated on you. She keeps the house, keeps the cars, keeps the kids, gets half your money, and now half your paycheck going. You got to move back in with your parents. And it's like, I know that's like an exaggeration and stuff. Yeah, but like sure. I've seen stuff happen, like where the man gets the short end of the stick, and I think that's a deterrence for men to get married. I think it's partially why men don't want to do it, or they just want to wait.
I get where you're coming from. However, I feel like when it comes down to when you know the women that you're dating, you should know who she is through and through to the point that won't happen. Yeah. I get it. People change and things can happen. The future is unpredictable. Mm-hmm. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. But for instance, me and you know, I would never do anything like that to you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, I feel like when you know your partner, those thoughts that you're having should kind of just dissipate. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Because if you're in a serious relationship and you're thinking about marriage, I think you need to, first of all, before you even propose, you need to know the answer. Mm-hmm. And you need to be like sure of this person, because why date them if you don't trust them like that? Like, if you don't trust somebody, why would you ever want to be in an intimate relationship with them? So I think if there's any lack of trust, you just need to talk about it, or just if it's really that big of if it's that big of an issue, just break up.
Yeah, because I feel like when you go into a relationship having that mindset, you're automatically making your relationship doomed.
Yeah, you're low-key going in with like a victim mentality. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to get taken advantage of.
Which is an issue that we had in the beginning, you know, with the whole prenup thing. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I mean, if that makes you feel comfortable, fine. But like, from my perspective of how everything that I know about prenups and everything, right? I feel like that's automatically saying, wow, you're going to do something crooked and nasty to me in the future, and we're going to get a divorce. It's like you're setting the relationship up to be doomed. There's an ending, you know, to have a bad ending. Right.
There's an end date to this.
Right. And I personally don't navigate through life like that. You know what I mean? Like, and as we discussed, we ended up coming to a compromise where it was like, whatever you had before us, that's all you, and then whatever we make together, that would be, you know, if that ever arises or whatever. But I feel like men just have, and I get it, because with today's society, it's so unpredictable to know what type of woman you're going to get, especially with the influence of these, you know, rappers and influencers and stuff like that. They say crazy stuff, and then these girls go ahead and run with it, and then that's all they're looking for in a man. But I feel like, again, when you know your partner, I feel like you shouldn't have to think about stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And to think about something like that kind of is hurt, like it hurts your partner in a way, because it's like, dang, that's how you think about me, you know. But I get it, I do. They don't appreciate it, but I get it. But yeah, I definitely think men are more strategic when it comes to thinking about a timeline of dating and marriage and all of that stuff. And I think women are more emotional when we go into, because once we feel our emotions, it's not even about boom boom, like being on that timeline where we're just like, hey, let's go, let's get married. It's about the emotional connection, because when we know. But sometimes we know, but we don't really know. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and then God will quickly show you, and he'll be like, I told you no. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, but I feel like in this relationship, I feel like I know, you know? But I feel like I know more than you, which kind of makes me feel some type of way. Yeah, because I feel like I'm about to be emotional. I don't want to get emotional. No, I'm really not trying to cry. But I feel like when it comes to our relationship, I don't doubt that you love me or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But I feel like when it comes to like taking that next step, I feel like I know more than you do. You know what I mean? I'm really trying not to cry, because I really don't want to cry. Get it together. Anyway, but
no, I disagree. I think I know just as much as you do.
But I don't know. I feel, in my personal opinion, it feels like actions say different, you know. But anyway, enough putting our personal business out there, because that was not my intention. But anyway, moving on. Ooh, can you move on, because I need to get myself together.
Okay.
It would be...
Okay. So, when it comes to like men and women having communication and expectation differences, how do you think men and women approach spiritual aspects of the relationship?
Like, together?
Like, because you know, like, the Bible describes as the household being, God should be the head.
Oh, absolutely.
Man being the spiritual leader, and wives submit to your husbands. I
agree with that to a certain extent. So we've discussed before, yes, the man should be the leader in the relationship. However, there was this message I was listening to a long time ago, and he basically described his relationship, and he was like, he is the leader for majority of the time, but there may be times where he may not be 100%, and the season that his wife and him are going into, she may know more than he does. And he, as a man, he has to be willing to step back and say, okay, I'm gonna let her lead, because right now I don't feel comfortable enough in this season to be able to lead our family successfully, you know? So I feel like when it comes to situations like that, you got to know when to pick up and lead, and when to kind of just fall back and not see it as like a damage to like your pride or anything, but to see it as like, ultimately we're a family, and we want the best for this family. So if I feel like I can't lead in this season, then I need to be able to put my pride aside and allow you to, you know. And as a woman, I feel like a lot of women, especially nowadays, are very headstrong, very matter of fact, like, this is what's happened, very alpha female. You feel me? Yeah. And I feel like when you have those women, it's harder to know what you should fight for and what you need to step back and let your man do. You know what I mean? So, because I feel like I would call myself an alpha female. I feel like I'm very, you know? Yeah. And I'm very, like, I don't want to say controlling, but, like, I get stuff done. You know what I mean? And sometimes I do feel like I overstep in those seasons where you're meant to lead, but you're also a person who kind of flies at the seat of their own pants. so it's kind of like, I'm more of a, I need a plan. Boom, 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 boom. Right. And you're more of like a, okay, yeah.
No, I'm more of like a, all right, we hear this, we do this, and then we'll get to the next step.
Right. So I feel like as a woman, when you are very alpha female, you have to know when to step back. And when you're a woman and you're more shyer or, you know, timid or whatever, you need to know when to step up. But ultimately, it is up to the man to provide, to lead, all of that. I absolutely 100% agree with that. But I just think it depends on the circumstance that you're in.
Yeah. Yeah, because, like, could you imagine, like, say you in a relationship or a marriage where the man is, like, the breadwinner and then he gets laid off. Mm-hmm. So it's like, as a woman, are you going to jump ship? Oh, you can't provide for him more. See ya. Deuces.
Or do what, not to be named, but a certain person did, and they're kind of just like still expecting the man to deliver, knowing that that man got laid off, and you're kind of just like, okay, pay these bills, do this, do that, you know, and it's just like,
so the electric bill's due on the first. Well,
like, don't get me wrong, you should always have a rainy day fund, but at the end of the day, like, if you see your man is struggling, like, if you ever lost your job, would it be hard? Absolutely. Yeah. But would I pull together for the both of us and make sacrifices? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, because at the end of the day, it's still a partnership. Like,
yeah.
You know, and then when there's like if someone needs help, it's up to the other person to step up and try to assist when needed, stuff like that. Yeah. And, you know, it's like, so it's like on a sports team, when your team captain goes down and gets injured, what happens? You're just going to fall apart.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
So, to ask you guys some questions, and feel free to, you know, comment down below in the comments or any of that. Oh yeah, make sure you guys subscribe as well. Seems like none of you have subscribed yet. So.
We have 2 subscribers, okay?
I think it's us.
We appreciate you. No, Mimo's one of them.
Oh, okay.
I think the other one.
I was about to say.
We appreciate it.
We do. At what point in your faith journey did you feel ready to to pursue a relationship? Mm-hmm. So that is going to be for our men. And then for our women, how do you navigate the tension between waiting for God's timing and feeling societal or cultural pressure to settle down? Mm-hmm. That's going to be for our women. But we hope that you guys enjoyed today's episode. Yes. Sorry for the emotional breakdown. That will not happen again. Oh. But anyway, again, make sure you guys like subscribe, share with your friends, your family, whoever you feel like this message pertains to, or whoever you feel like it may touch. If it touched you, give us a thumbs up. And yeah, we'll see you guys in
the next one.
In episode 9, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 9.
Yep.
Deuces.
See ya.